nobody in the history of the world ever wrote a song or a poem. Nothing good that I can think of was ever inspired by the individual who said, and so I set out to be as comfortable as I could, to do everything that's easy, to never really challenge myself. And now look how happy I am. I just have never seen it.
What's the most convincing thing that you could say to the average viewer listening to this right now that doesn't feel like they challenge themselves or seek out adversity to hopefully be able to hone that desire of wanting to challenge themselves?
What are you scared of? You know, be honest. What do you really?
I'd say a lot of people would just be failure.
Okay.
Humiliation.
Okay, you're scared of being humiliated and you're scared of failing. Got
Embarrassment.
it. Embarrassment. Absolutely. All great motivators. How does pursuing a life of comfort and ease protect you from those things?
Well, it insulates you from feeling embarrassed or fearful.
Sure. In much the same way the ostrich insulates himself from the environment by sticking his head in the sand. You can get away with a lot of stuff for a while, and then you don't. And I think it's really tempting, and I've certainly made this mistake in my life more than once, but you look at your life like it's a snapshot. You know, it's like, this is what I'm doing. This is how but you're not in a snapshot. You're in a movie. You know, and like there's stuff happening all around you all of the time. The chickens are going to come home to roost for those 7 million men who have chosen this life, and it's not gonna be good. And I would love to help them. My foundation tries to help them. You know, if you start with this idea that, look, I'm not going to do a thing that makes me uncomfortable, then okay, check back. Let me know how it goes for you.
In terms of your own career, I'm curious. It seems very accidental and somewhat random from the outside looking in, from opera to QVC to dirty jobs to narration. What habits did you employ that led to that success?
I can't choose what I look like, how tall I am, my race, my gender. There's a bunch of stuff out of my control. But I can choose to be curious, and I can choose to be uncomfortable. And I got very lucky growing up. Those two things were always presented as wise choices. You know, if you're curious and uncomfortable, you're probably on the road to becoming, if not interesting, at least somebody who has some stories to tell, you know? So that was kind of burned in. The interesting thing, I think, for me is the realization that curiosity has a partner, and the partner is humility. You can't be curious and arrogant at the same time, or certain, right? Curiosity by definition means, I don't know, and I'm game to find out, and finding out might humiliate me. It might make me embarrassed. It might make me uncomfortable. So if you really value curiosity as a virtue, then all the other things we're talking about kind of fall in line. And I was always curious. I still am. The humility for me was, I was sure I was going to follow in my granddad's footsteps, the guy I mentioned earlier, you know. And I spent a couple years as a teenager kind of working as his apprentice on a lot of different jobs. And just because I assumed I was so passionate about wanting to do what he did that I would have inherited the skills necessary to allow my passion to unfold. But of course, the handy gene is recessive, and and you know, it was a very early, really important lesson to realize just because you love something doesn't mean you can't suck at it. And conversely, just because you're not particularly interested in something doesn't mean you might not have a real facility for it. So when my granddad told me to get a different toolbox, he said, you can be a tradesman. You just need a different set of tools. You need to go a different way. That's what got me in entertainment.
Now, one thing I really admire is how good you were on QVC and selling. And I'm so curious, what's the thing that you learned about selling that most entrepreneurs miss?
if there were a host or expert, playbook, it's to create and foster the illusion of knowledge and competence where it doesn't really exist. And, the sales book is very similar, right? I know the features and I know the benefits. Therefore, I can explain to you exactly in great detail anything that you hand me. And in the course of that explanation, by employing various techniques, including a great level of empathy and enthusiasm, I can get you to yes. Okay, that's the basic idea. Tom Sawyer taught us something different. And I read that book when I was a kid. Tom Sawyer, didn't want to paint the fence and basically conned his friends into doing it for him. My first night on QVC was extraordinary. I'd never been on live television before. I'm sitting there in front of, 4 robotic cameras. There is no training program. At least there wasn't in 1990. If you could talk about a pencil for 8 minutes, you were hired.
That's a skill in and of itself. I mean, I wouldn't be able to talk about a pencil for 5 minutes.
I bet you could.
I don't think I could.
Well, I can teach you how.
How do you do it?
You never say anything about the pencil that you don't follow with a reason. Every feature on the pencil has to have a benefit. So, okay, it's a yellow number 2 pencil with an eraser and that little silver thing that holds the eraser to the thing. Is it lead or is it graphite? Doesn't really matter, but you have to decide which one it is, and then you have to tell me, and then you have to explain that graphite from Madagascar is a far superior solution or alternative to lead, because a lot of people still lick the tip of the pencil, and that's a stupid way to get lead poisoning, right? So if you're going to tell me something about the product, tell me what the benefit is. Why is it yellow? Because you're busy, right? You open up your desk drawer. You don't have time to be rooting around for a beige writing implement. You want that yellow to pop out of there so you know right where it is. Why is the eraser as long as it is? Because after years of testing, we know that the life of that pencil, sharpened incrementally, as the data shows it will coincide with the life of the eraser, which employed statistically from time to time, as we know it will coincide. That's why you get that little pencil down here and the eraser's been used. It's all perfectly engineered. Why number 2? Why not number 3? Why not number 1? What's the difference? Well, number 1 leaves that big, fat, stupid skid mark. You look like a kid with a crayon. Number 3 is all too fine and wispy. Number 2 is it's the perfect amount of Madagascar graphite for your yellow pencil.
Now, really quick, I just want to say that most people know that they should have an LLC, but they keep pushing it off because it sounds super complicated. Well, that's why we partnered with Northwest Registered Agent. They make the entire process so simple that you could just get it done today.
For $39 plus state fees, Northwest forms your LLC and handles the state filings for you.
You get your operating agreement, member certificates, and banking resolutions, which is all the paperwork that actually makes it official.
And that's all that, plus a free domain, email, phone line, brand protection, and mail forwarding are bundled in so your business is ready to operate in the same day.
And your home address never goes in the public record. Northwest uses their own address in your filings instead of yours.
So if forming an LLC has been sitting on your to-do list for long enough, today is the day. Just go to northwestregisteredagent.com to get started.
That's northwestregisteredagent.com, or click the link down below in the description to get your LLC filed.
Thank you to Northwest Registered Agent for sponsoring this episode, and back to the podcast.